Hello everyone, and welcome to a special North Andover Cam broadcast today. My name is Sam Murray. You may recognize me from a couple North Andover athletics events, going around town and just doing some general things there. But today, I'm joined alongside by several members of the North Andover Merchants Association. I'm joined alongside Phil DiCollegiero, Sally Finnemore, and Mary McElhenney. Folks, welcome and thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having us.
Of course, happy to help. And again, this is the North Andover Merchants Association, and we're here today to bring awareness to the third annual, I believe, North Andover Farmers and Artisans Market event that will be happening on June 16th and happening the third month going until September 29th, or the third of the month until September 29th. And folks, just gonna start off just with a basic, just give me some background information on this event. How did it start? What was the general idea behind it? And just basically, what to expect.
So we started, the farmers market started in 2017. So this is our third year. It was the result actually of a group of people who I think really just had a passion about the idea of bringing people into our downtown. And so Tina Messina, who's the owner of First and Main Plaza and the Wine Connection, myself and Michael Smolak actually met in one of Michael's greenhouses to talk about this idea of how do we put together a farmer's market, because Tina and I were not farmers, but we knew that there was a strong potential for it to be successful. A lot of people in town had long been asking for it. We were the largest community in Greater Lawrence that didn't have one, and so Tina fortunately was awesome. Her and the entire Wine Connection team, they said if you wanted to do it on First Street, we'd let you use the parking lot as parking for the market's patrons and vendors, and that we'd even be able to use some of her space to store materials. And so it kicked off in 2017. We would never have been able to do it if it weren't for Lowell 5 that year giving us a grant that allowed us to purchase tents so that when people come downtown, they see this row of awesome red tents where we were able to advertise and put a lot of energy behind banners around town, digital advertising, getting bodies into the First and Main area, which I think a lot of people didn't know existed, actually. So that first year we included a lot of farmers, a lot of people that had created goods, whether it was from animal products or whether it was growing vegetables, fruits. We also had some crafters, and one of those crafters was the owner of Trey Chic, and it was Sally Finnemore. And unfortunately, Sally just stood out because, frankly, she just was evidently a really strong organizer, did a really great job with her booth. And so after our first season, our planning committee talked about this idea of, well, gee, we got bodies in our downtown. Is there a way that we could get bodies to stay in our downtown? I think that would be a certain sign of success. And Sally was foolish enough to agree to a phone call, and she ended up saying yes to this idea of, should we create a satellite market, another market that was less farmer and agricultural and more crafter related? And so last year we kicked off the Artisan market, which happens a third of a mile down the road on High Street. And so
last year was our first year, and we sort of started dreaming small. We weren't really sure what the outcome would be or what the interest would be. We had sort of planned on having maybe 20 artisans per market, and RCG and the East and West Mills opened up their space to us behind 50 High Street over at the West Mill to use that space, and the interest was really overwhelming, actually. And so we ended up being able to grow. In the first market, we had 30 vendors, and by the end, we were having over 50 vendors. So it was really well attended. The artisans loved it. I think the patrons loved it. It just gave them something else to do. We had live music. So there was just a nice community feel to it. People could come down and spend time as a family, grab something to eat at one of the local restaurants, and kind of hang out and visit the local artisans. So.
Yes, I remember last year I actually attended the Artisans Market, and one of the booths I went to was someone who, the beer that he drank, he turned into candles and stuff like that, which I thought was just very unique, and it obviously had an interest because it got my eyes, and I'm sure that it got others. So I guess that kind of leads me to, say if you're interested in this and you have an idea or you have something that you would like to sell, how would you go and get involved in getting involved with the Artisans Market and getting a booth there?
Sure. So one of the things I want to mention is that, like the farmers market, we are all volunteer run. So we have a committee, Mary here is on the committee as well, and we have a group of about 8 or 9 people. And when you submit an application, everything is juried, which basically means that there's a selection process. And with our market, everything needs to be handmade or handcrafted. We don't work with direct sales or anything like that. So we really wanted to keep it authentic to crafters and artisans. So you would submit an application, and then we would review. This year we had over 200 applications, and we'll go through and kind of determine if they meet the criteria of the jury, and then based on the weeks that they want to participate, if we have space for them. We do have a few spaces left in each of our markets for some pretty unique items. At this point, many of our categories are full, but if you want to talk about the jurying at all, or...
Yeah, we have a great process where the applications come in and we categorize everybody, and then we do take our time reviewing everybody's picture and description of what they make, how they make it, and it's fantastic to see all of the different artisans that we have and the creativity that people in this area have brought to North Andover for this event.
Yes, and speaking of, you mentioned volunteering, and I think this is a primarily volunteer, based event. It really is just dependent on the work of the volunteers. Say you're the average Joe in North Andover, and you see this and you go, this is something I'd like to get involved with. How does one go about volunteering at these type of events?
I think it's as simple as just contacting one of us. I mean, we have a Facebook page, Artisan Market at the Mills, and our website is part of the Farmers Market website, but we tend to have a group of volunteers, so each market we sort of adopt a community group who will come and help us set up the tents and do what we need to do, and we make a donation to that group, but we also can definitely use as much help as we can get just trying to run the market. It's a lot of work every day, every week, getting out there to set everything up and making sure the vendors have what they need. So people can just contact us, and we'll set them up with a week and give them a blue apron, and they can get going. So.
One of the things that we received a lot of feedback after last year's market, and one of the positive feedbacks that the artisans had gave us was the strength of our volunteers, that people really did assist. It does take a small army to put together 50 booths each weekend, so it's great to have people that can help us, help the artisans, and it's great to see the feedback that we've gotten from our vendors.
I mean, it is. I think even saying primarily volunteer run doesn't do justice. It is 100% volunteer run. In fact, at the end of last year, we had over 100 people at some point or another in 2018 volunteer to help make the market happen. So our committee, so there's the Artisan Market Committee, which again is 8 to 9 people. There's the Farmers Market Committee, which is about 10 to 11 people that go year round with the planning and execution of the event. But every single day, whether it's the Artisan Market needing probably 15 to 20 people, and for the farmers market, setting up our tents and breaking the tents down, it's again another, for us, we probably need another 15 volunteers each week. And so one of the things that I like about both markets is that we identified, well, we need bodies, but is there a way that we can help support other groups in town? And so you heard Sally say that at the Artisan Market, each month there's a different group that kind of adopts the market. They come, they help set up and break down, they help the vendors, and then a donation is given to that group. At the farmers market, if you come help us set up and break down on a day that you adopt, we will give you a slush booth. So people who've been to our market, they've noticed that typically it's kids selling slush. It's almost like this very vocal lemonade stand. But 100% of the proceeds of that slush booth go to whatever group is adopting our market for that day. So we have our regular volunteers. Again, we have our committee, but we have people who just like to come and help out. Some of them just like to make it part of their Sunday morning routine where they come and help us bring out the tents. A lot of families, which is really cool. But what we typically find is we've had the Music Association, we've had a lot of PTOs come. They bring the bodies to help us set up and break down. They get this slush booth where they're selling slush. It's a nice refreshment opportunity. But to then see a nonprofit group that sometimes doesn't always have the ability to raise these hundreds of thousands of dollars in funds, like to just come and raise several $100s from slush proceeds and be part of a community event, I think it goes back to what our entire goal is, which is how can we support our community, which is more than just one group or another group, and to see that we can get so many different people and groups involved is pretty cool.
I heard there was a big to-do with slush this year, so.
Every year, it's the kids love it. I mean, we have a lot of the elementary school kids. I mean, I'll give a big shout out to the Thompson School, which manages to put somebody in their Thompson Tiger mascot uniform, which it's not really that cool down at the market. So I give them a lot of credit. I think there's a fan in the head of it, but I mean, it's, you know, the PTOs have fun with it. They make it part of their summer exercise. Again, you typically will see whether it's the Atkinson, the Kittredge, the Bradstreet. You'll see them once or twice each summer on a different day. So it's neat that they do it. And then we've had Friends of North Andover Trails. We've had, again, the Music Association come down. I mean, it's pretty cool. We're happy with it, and we're grateful that other groups see the potential and the value in teaming up with us.
Mm-hmm. All right, so from the Artisans Market, so last year was the first year that it was a suggestion and ultimately went through with it, and it was a big success. What changes are you guys going to make to the Artisans Market to expand on the success that was last year?
So as I said, when we first started last year, our goal was to have about 30 vendors at each market. So this year we've expanded, so we have over 50 at each market. We've also included a category for junior vendors, so if there are young kids in town who want to sell something, make a product, there's a space for them to do it too at a reduced rate. We tried a few things last year with different entertainment, live music, food trucks, so we've decided to really capitalize on the success that we had with those. So there will be food trucks at each event. We'll have live music at each event. We have a new addition this year. We're adding Pedalin' Fools, which is a mobile bike service. So they're going to come and they'll be doing bike safety for kids. They can check your bike out, give you tune-ups. So we'll hopefully be encouraging people to ride their bikes to downtown as well. And we are adding a little bit of other family entertainment as well. RCG has chipped in there. They've bought some lawn games, cornhole, things like that. So that'll be going on. So I think just, you know, I don't know. Am I missing anything?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think one of the biggest pulls for families too is the Hayride that goes back and forth between the two markets, which was very popular last year, and I'm so excited that it's back for this year, and it's free. And it's just, you know, some parents were just there to just take their kids on the Hayride from one market to another, so it was great.
Yeah, as a little kid, I always loved the Hayride, whether that was at Small Lake Farms or elsewhere. Who is responsible for the Hayride? I guess.
So when we created the markets, so the whole idea was it's a third of a mile away. It's pretty pedestrian friendly. You know, if people are walking down to one market, it's easy to get to the other one. But we talked about this idea. Well, there are still people that probably would find it to be a struggle to walk back and forth, especially if it was a hotter day. And so we had one of our committee meetings where, again, Michael Smolak from Smolak Farms was on the Farmers Market Committee, and I think he was joking when he said it, but he suggested that, you know, instead of, you know, a shuttle bus, you know, why not have the Hayride come down? And again, I don't know if he was joking, but we held him to that. And so last year there were 3 markets last year because the July Artisan Market got rained out. But Mother Nature cooperated for the other 3, and we were able to make it free. Last year was in part due to the generosity of, I believe, Rolf's Pub donated the funds one day to subsidize it because it does cost us money. So any money that we get in the form of donations or sponsorships then help offset that cost, and then we're able to just pump our money back into advertising and promoting the markets. And I don't think that people enjoy the free opportunities. I mean, it's a really simple type of pleasure, but you don't expect to ride down Main Street in a Hayride. And so I think it feeds back into this whole idea of, you know, a town type feel, and they enjoy it. The people enjoy it. So last year, I think the thing that stands out the most is that our very first day, we had a couple on, you know, because of course we all jumped onto the Hayride, I think at one point or another, just to, you know, to check it out. And there was a couple on the first Hayride that talked about, you know, they were there with their young kids and they had never been to downtown. They always used to go to Andover. They didn't even know that this existed in North Andover. So it was cool to see that it acted as a draw, and hopefully it was the type of thing that keeps North Andover on their mind. So,
personally, I always enjoy a free ride, so so I'm always down for that. Shifting gears a little bit towards the farmers market. Now, recently, the Merchants Association partnered with Lowell 5 and received a $15,000 grant. Can you just walk me through what that money will go towards?
Sure. So I think you just actually said an important thing that we don't say enough of, that this entire endeavor, the farmers market, the artisan market, we're all part of the North Andover Merchants Association, operating under their umbrella. And so there are dozens and dozens of volunteers in that organization that do all sorts of different community events. A lot of us do stuff beyond. I mean, Sally just organized our first Junior Merchant Expo at the Youth Center earlier this spring. And so when we were forming this concept of the farmers market, the Merchants Association had always had this as a goal for being downtown. And then when we teamed up with Tina Messina to actually make it happen, Lowell 5 said, well, we'd love to be involved. And we explained that because we were new, there were all these other markets that existed, and there were only so many quality vendors to go around, that we needed to make sure that we made a splash when we executed it. And so Lowell 5 really helped us, I think, get our advertising out there. And so for us, what we do is for all of our vendors, they actually have to use one of our pop-up tents. It's one of the reasons why we need so many volunteers. And so part of those funds go towards just the general, replacement due to wear and tear of those tents. And so we purchase probably a half dozen now each year. We pay for the different signage to help direct people to get downtown. It helps subsidize our entertainment. So every week when you come to the farmers market, you'll see that there is some type of musical entertainment happening there. And so this is in part, again, because of the generosity of Lowell 5. And then, of course, when you come down to our market, you get to see the ubiquitous green bag. So we have free polyethylene reusable bags, tote bags, that we hand out to all of our patrons. And so the past couple of years, you'd see that there were volunteers handing them out to every person who came in. And so Lowell 5's just been really generous with helping us get that type of exposure that we need, whether it's been newspaper advertising in church bulletins, printing up banners, printing up signage, because for a lot of people, I mean, you'd be surprised how many people call and wonder, where are we, when they drive to downtown Andover, not realizing it's downtown North Andover. And so we have to strive, we have to work a little harder, but the end result is that I would argue that we are probably one of the most successful markets north of Boston now. I mean, whether it's our social media activity. For us, we define success as, do our vendors walk away feeling happy? And that's our measure of success, because if we're getting our bodies downtown, if we're doing our job, then that means our vendors will thrive. And so at the end of every day, we ask our vendors, how did you do? And it's always great that at the end of each day, our vendors, they're happy. And if they're happy being in North Andover, then we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So.
And speaking of the vendors, similar to the artisans market, if someone were to want to get involved in the farmers market and ultimately sell their crops, how would they go about doing that?
So we, unlike the artisan market where they're dealing with a bigger space, we operate on First Street. So if you're driving down Main Street, really right by the part of First Street that goes alongside the First and Main Plaza. So we're dealing with about 187 feet where we can line both sides of the road. So we have a lot more of a limitation to the number of vendors we can have, and we really try to not have too many of the same type. So if you are interested in joining the farmers market, you could email us at info@northandoverfarmersmarket.org. Heads up that a lot of the days for the 2019 season are already completely full. But if there's that interest and you see this video, shoot us an email, because the worst we can say is sign up next year.
And recently you guys partnered with the Veteran Services Department in North Andover for the Veterans Food Program. Would you like to just walk me through what exactly that is?
Sure. So if you come down to our farmers market this year, I mean, there aren't too many changes. We feel like we really did a good job last year. And the big change internally for us is that we were approached last year by the Veteran Service Office. Because a lot of people may not think this. A lot of people, I think, would probably be very frustrated to find out that there is a sizable number of veterans living in North Andover, or families of veterans that live below a certain income level, and as a result find that there's a general obstacle to getting healthy, quality food. And so one of the things that we started talking about with our Veterans Office when they approached us about, well, what can we do with creating accessibility, was we came up with this idea of, well, what type of voucher program could we create that would respect the dignity of veterans, their confidentiality, but also open up access. And it really was just as simple as, for us, we decided that we would raise money and donate it in the form of vouchers to the Veterans Office and let them distribute as they see fit to whether it's veterans or spouses of veterans that they felt were in need. And so to support that initiative, we're actually hosting a kickoff this year for the first time. It's from 7 to 9 p.m. on Thursday, June 13th at the Wine Connection. It's a wine tasting. We're going to have some of our vendors there with some hors d'oeuvres, so you can sample some of the great goods that will be available at our market each week. But 100% of those proceeds will go back towards donating to the Veterans Office so that they can get those type of vouchers in the hands of people who need them. And so the end result is that people in our community now have more access to quality, healthy, fresh local goods. And in turn, they're coming to support vendors, people who live in our, local business owners that are trying to make a living as farmers or crafters, et cetera. They'll be able to come to the farmers market and as vendors make more money. So they make more money, we get people who otherwise wouldn't have access, able to procure goods, and at the end of the day, I think we're performing a community service that really is valued. So.
Speaking of community service, how important are events such as the farmers and artisans markets to the community? What exactly, does it bring value towards?
I think it feeds our soul. I think that when people think about what they love about North Andover, or any community, it's never just the architecture, it's never just this neighborhood or just this street. I think it's a collection of things. And one of the things that stand out for me about North Andover is that whether it's the festival committee doing sheep shearing, the Merchants Association doing the Fall Festival, or the Merchants Association subcommittees with the Artisan Market and the Farmers Market putting on these events, there's just this true community spirit that you can see, and it's not just a community spirit that we tell you about, it's a community spirit that if you were to come into our community, you see it. I mean, it's not just words with us, it's action, and that's not just the three of us. I mean, I think I'm speaking for a lot of different groups and organizations that people are just willing to give back to make our community better, and these are just two of really many examples of that.
I think a really good example was the last artisan market of the year last year was right after the gas disasters, and we put out there that we would be collecting donations of food and also gift cards, restaurant gift cards, and it was overwhelming, the amount of support that we got back, and that people a week later were still coming out to support the farmers market and the artisan market, just because I think it was a place to go where you could kind of get together with everybody and check in and see how everybody was doing, but also to support the community and give back. So
I think what's super important in today's age is connection with other people too. And these markets do foster that connection. You're able to go down and you might run into someone that you haven't seen in 10 years and you're able to form another or a new connection. So I think that that's super important for our community too, that we foster connections through events such as this.
I would also add I think the farmers market is incredible because it brings people to downtown, and I would venture to say it's mostly in-town people, local people who are going. And I think the artisan market, we're really trying to broaden that a little bit so that it's not just the North Andover community that's coming. I mean, some of our artisans are coming from as far away as Maine and Rhode Island and Connecticut. And I think that we're trying to sort of reach beyond North Andover as well to bring people to these markets, but also hoping that they'll then see what else is here, make their way to the farmers market, make their way to downtown, visit the restaurants in the mill area, and just kind of see what else North Andover has to offer. So.
All right. Well, it looks like we're just about up against it. So, people, any closing remarks you would like to share?
Opening day, June 16th.
Father's Day.
Yeah.
And you can see Mr. Finnemore on the DJ, right? He'll be doing DJ work down at the Artisan Market, and yeah, mark your calendar. The third Wednesday of every month is the Artisan Market. The third Sunday, so it's the third week of every month, June, July, August, and September. Well, the Farmers Market is every Sunday, June 16th to the 29th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m.
All right. And just lastly, just so we can get this out there again, for anyone who would like to volunteer, get involved, how can they find you guys?
info@northandoverfarmersmarket.org, or as Sally said, you can visit either her page, or for us, it's the North Andover Farmers Market Facebook page.
Artisan Market at the Mills Facebook page, or crafts@northandoverfarmersmarket.com.
All right. So thank you very much, people. Again, just in case, one more time, we'll get it out there. It is June 16th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and it'll be the third of every month until September, with that final date being on the 29th. The Artisans Market will be at the Mills off of High Street, and the Farmers Market will be located on First Street. Parking is available in the First and Main Street Plaza. As always, thank you very much for joining me and members of the Merchants Association. And this has been a special broadcast from North Andover CAM. My name is Sam Murray, and thank you for tuning in.